Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the ONG Strike Zone. Bryan Fulford, Kelvin Rozier, soon to be joining us, Marcus Green. We are the triumvirate of brothers from FAMU.
When we on the mic, we rock the mic. Right?
Yes we do.
What happened, man?
I don't know. It just I wasn't feeling it.
You had a drink? You been drinking?
Just don't touch me on my shoulder. Don't find out. Don't touch me on the shoulder, and you won't find out. So, but anyway, welcome to another episode of the ONG Strike Zone. Glad to be with you here live on a Wednesday night. The same time every week, every night, we say hello to the family, checking in all over the country. Sorry we were a few minutes late. We're gonna blame Marcus. We were waiting. I was waiting on Marcus. Thought he was gonna slide in on time. But it turned out to he's still en route, so we'll have him on soon.
Yeah. Don't want him to run out of gas.
Yeah, we don't want him to. We want him to get here. We don't want him to run out of gas. So there you go. Well said. I want to say hello to everybody that's watching us in the variety of ways that our show is streaming. Of course, our beautiful friends on YouTube, the Jericho Broadcast Network's YouTube page at MyJBN Online. Always some great chats and discussions happening there. So if you're not familiar, go check us out there. Also, you might be watching us on YouTube via our personal YouTube page, the ONG Strike Zone. That's where you can find us. Also on Facebook. Black College Sports Network on Facebook. Also, ONG Strike Zone on Facebook. Hello to everybody watching on X, Black College Sports Network, at ONG Strike Zone, and the people watching on Instagram Live. So we say hello to everybody there. Who would have known, Kelvin, it'd be such a busy, some good, some bad, some sad. There is all kinds of news happening in this first week of June surrounding our beloved university. Who would have known? Who would have thought, right?
We would have. I mean, we FAMU. We brag different.
I don't know if it's bragging or boasting or just being extra. I don't know which one it is. It's probably all of the above. All of the above. For everybody who's watching us, do us a favor. On YouTube, hit the thumbs up button already. Go ahead and get that out of the way now. If you're watching us on Facebook, hit the like button. It all helps out the algorithms. You can always donate to the show right there via the Cash App, MyJBN, MyBCSN. Or you could use that, scan that QR code there in the bottom left of the screen as well, make a donation. Or if you're in our YouTube on the JBN side, go ahead and feel free to drop a super chat. Any donation, we appreciate it. And hello to all of the members of the JBN YouTube page. Thank you there. I guess I better hit mute there on my phone while it sits there next to me. All right. Well, Kelvin, I see already people commenting on your beautiful shirt. Already catching attention.
Man, it's one of
he can't take his eyes off your shirt already.
It's one of my favorites, and it was the same way that I've been getting a lot of that today. So I don't wear it often, but yeah, it's nice, very comfortable.
Well, I usually like to do. You want to do shout outs or kind of get to what we talked about being the lead? I know it's kind of it is what it is. I well let me do first. Let me do this. Trying to figure out how to set all of this. Coming up, we don't have any guests in hour one. You know, usually you guys are maybe custom if you're watching the show on a regular. We usually kind of have a guest at the bottom of hour one. Not today. We're going to try to get through a lot of topics and a lot of discussion on some things in hour one. In hour two, at the top of hour two, we're going to talk to our own FAMU Volleyball recent graduate and two-time SWAC Libero of the Year, as well as a published author. I guess we could call her a published author, writer. She has recently written in Forbes, and that is Brooke Hudson. Brooke will be joining us in hour number two at the top of hour two. And she wrote a very nice article in Forbes. So we shared that over the weekend. I think it was published on Friday. And as soon as I read it, I had to reach out to Brooke and I was like, Brooke, we got to get you on the show. Some amazing stuff that you see young people involved in. And so the title of her article in Forbes was called Being a Student Athlete Helped Me Find My Voice as a Student Activist. So we'll talk not only about her volleyball season, her volleyball career, but also about being a student activist and just kind of writing this article for Forbes. Again, that was published. And I'll post it in the chat room just in case you did not get a chance to read it. At the bottom of hour two, good friend, and I like to, and I think I gotta check myself when I don't do this, Kelvin. Vaughn Wilson, many of you people may know Vaughn as from HBCUGameDay.com, but I got to start putting respect on Vaughn's name because he is a FAMU Sports Hall of Famer. That's, what Vaughn is. So the FAMU Sports Hall of Famer and writer, videographer, and of course, those of you who may have known him as a DJ, Vaughn Wilson will be joining us. And we got a few different things to talk about. But first,
DJ Ace.
DJ Ace, exactly. Welcome in third member of our team, Marcus Green. Marcus, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Glad better late than never.
Glad you didn't run out of gas.
Gassed up and ready to go.
Yep.
Good deal. All right. So I'm gonna hold off on the shout outs for just a moment, if you all would bear with, because I think we have to kind of start the show and pay respects to some Rattlers and none other than Mr. Eddie Jackson. Mr. Eddie Jackson, I should have had this ready. Many of you may know Mr. Jackson more recently as the president of the 220 Quarterback Club, but he is also or was also a FAMU Sports Hall of Famer. He's an alum. He was the sports information director under the Jake Gaither administration. I think is that correct? Or was Gaither was that when Gaither was the AD?
He was. I don't know if that was when he was AD, but I mean he started during that time under Gaither, and I know he was there with Pop Kittles and the rest of them, but I don't know. I can't remember.
I'll read right from the FAMU Athletics post. It says Rattler Nation has lost a member of the family as president of the 220 Quarterback Club. Eddie Jackson passed away. This was Monday evening, I believe, or Monday afternoon. A FAMU alum, Jackson came to Tallahassee from St. Petersburg in 1964. As a student, Jackson worked for the FAMUN and was the editor of the 1966 Rattler yearbook. Following graduation in 1966, Jackson became the sports information director for athletics. In 1966, his football media guide was selected by College Sports Communicators, formerly known as COSIDA, as the 8th best in the country. Jackson worked among many legends, including Alonzo Jake Gaither, while serving as the sports information director. In 1992, which happened to be my first year at FAMU, the FAMU Public Relations Office, under Jackson's leadership, received the Silver Medal Award for overall news and information programs from the Council for the Advancement and Support of Education, ranking FAMU second only to UCLA for having the best news and information program of all colleges and universities in the nation. In 1998, FAMU President Frederick S. Humphreys presented Jackson with the university's first presidential award and named him Employee of the Year after FAMU had been selected as the Time Magazine and Princeton Review College of the Year in 1997. Jackson would spend 39 years at Florida A&M University and served in other roles, including Director of Placement and Career Counseling, University Public Relations Director, and Vice President for University Relations before retiring in 2002. I believe it was, he's also an author. He wrote a 251-page book titled Coaching Against the Wind that attempted to capture the inspirational careers of 6 men who believe the game of football is symbolic of life and serves as a powerful complement to academic study by helping student athletes achieve success beyond the sanctuary of the college campus. Jackson also I'm not sure the actual date on when, correct me if I'm wrong, Kelvin, was he the founder or of the 220 quarterback club? I think I'd read that somewhere.
I think he was one of the original.
Okay.
Him and someone else.
Okay. To date, the group had donated more than $200,000 to various athletic programs and the Marching 100 Band in the past decade. He was inducted into the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame in 2008 as a contributor / supporter and administrator. Thoughts, Kelvin? I know you probably know Mr. Jackson probably more better than me and maybe even Marcus. I'm speaking for Marcus, so correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus. But Kelvin, I give you the floor. Your thoughts on Mr. Jackson and his impact at FAMU.
Well, he's a giant. I mean, he's one of one. My experience with him starts with my journey through DRS or FAMU High, the High. His daughter.
Did I lose you there, Kelvin? I think I may have lost him there. His signal. While we wait for Kelvin's signal, Marcus, do you have any thoughts there on Mr. Jackson?
Well, once again, to echo Kelvin, it's a sad day.
Was that?
Yeah, we lost you for a second. You paused on us for a second.
Okay.
You want to go ahead and finish your thought, and then Marcus will jump in.
Mm-hmm. You were just starting that his daughter was at FAMU High with you.
Yeah. Yes. Classmate, Dr. Lisa Jackson, was a classmate of mine through elementary all the way through high school, I think. And so his wife, Dr. Geraldine Jackson, was my chair of the. I was a business ed major at FAM, and she was my chairperson. She's also a family member. So Mr. Eddie Jackson also taught me economics at FAMU. Wow. A lot of people don't know that he taught, but he taught economics. And then of course, after his retirement from FAMU, all the long list of great achievements he had while working there, then of course the quarterback club and the work they've done speaks for itself. He leaves a big void. He's a giant. There's not enough accolades you can throw in a guy. And then to add to it, person of character, a great mentor to many people who a man, a guy that little black boys could aspire to be, to look up to, a role model. So, of course, I dealt with him in many times working at FAMU, helping with facility things. He even acknowledged us a few times at the 220 Club when they were at the Old Times Buffet. And, just as everyone say, a mighty Rattler. And he leaves a big void. And hopefully Vaughn, when Vaughn comes on, he'll have some more information in terms of, we're going to need someone to pick up the mantle. The 220 Club is really important, DSO. And we're going to need somebody to pick up the mantle and lead the charge. So and it's probably going to take more than one person to do that. But anyway, yeah, just a big loss for Rattler Nation, a tough one.
And I applaud and maybe Vaughn might have, and we'll talk to Vaughn about this, but I had heard, even in years past, I had heard about the 220 Club, but it was always this group that you never really, you always heard about, but you never really, I guess if you weren't in Tallahassee, you didn't know who they were, what they were. You just know that they were a contributing group. And I applaud probably Vaughn for helping bring the 220 Club into a more visible space via the YouTube, and so that their reach could expand outside of Tallahassee, and just that community. And so it's a tremendous connection, and it was kind of it was must watch television on Wednesdays at noon. I even in my class, I would find a way to make sure to catch the 220 Club. So, Marcus, your thoughts. I'm going to give you a chance to share your thoughts there.
All right. Just to echo both of you, a tremendous loss for the university, but more importantly, as a person. I didn't have a chance. I don't believe, I'm trying to recall back, way back 30 years ago. I don't think I had a chance to interact with Mr. Jackson on campus. I mean, I remember hearing the name, and, you're coming in and you hear all these names and you're kind of intimidated by all the, the people in their positions and the titles they hold. But just, hearing different things over the years, and especially watching the 220 QB Club, you could tell that he had a persona and was the type of person that would either be a consensus builder, but also someone that could get things done, but also make you feel at ease. And so I did enjoy the 220 QB Club and tried to sneak it in during lunch, maybe a little bit past lunch when I could. And just the way and ease that he just managed the room. I mean, he knew everyone. He had a certain air about him in terms of being able to maneuver different spaces. And I'd imagine throughout his career, he had to do the same thing, the progression that he made from student to sports information director to upper levels of administration during the Humphreys era. So I know he'd be tremendously missed by a lot of different folks, even those who just knew him from afar through watching the 220 QB Club. And, FAMU will definitely have a big void to fill if you can even attempt to try to fill it. But he definitely loved FAMU.
Yeah. It's one of those realities, but it's also humbling to see so many legends and giants that and I think I can speak for all three of us, we grew up hearing about these names. And just in the 3 years that we've been doing this, the legends that we have lost are, I mean, wow, and they're names that, I mean, the success and the all the wonderful things that we have to say about FAMU positively, are on the backs of these great men and individuals, Rattlers, who have contributed so much to where we are. And I'll just leave it at that. I think it's so. I mean, our prayers and condolences to the Jackson family. He is survived by his wife. I'm not sure. You mentioned his one daughter. I don't know how many other children.
That's it.
Okay. So, our thoughts and prayers to the many friends and family that Mr. Jackson had. He will be missed. Not just on those Wednesday afternoons for us who are not in Tallahassee, but for so many other events. And obviously, he was in the midst of starting a $1 million drive to go towards athletics. And so, I'm not going to say that's going to be his lasting legacy, but that is a legacy mark that I think will be a great achievement. And we'll hopefully get a chance to, as we talk to Vaughn later in hour 2, talk about that more and some of his ideas and plans. Because I feel like a lot of the ideas and plans were just kind of being introduced to the masses when he took ill and things of that. So we hope that FAMU and FAMU Athletics finds a way to properly honor Mr. Jackson in some form or fashion. It's too early to kind of talk about what that should be and all that, but I think we ought to just kind of take a moment, and we're gonna take a moment of silence for Mr. Jackson, a fallen Rattler, a legend, a mighty Rattler, and we'll come back after the break with some more news and notes for our show.
If you think pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Conley.
Greetings, I'm Kiana Watson.
Hi, I'm Zoriana Hughes.
Greetings, I'm Nia Morgan, and for all things FAMU Athletics,
check out the Orange and Green Strike Zone
on Wednesdays at the Black College Sports Network.
Go Rattlers!
All right, shout out to the ladies there. Our Zanaya Mobley, Kiana, Naya, Zoriana. Shout out to them. Thank you for the shout out. Thank you for the love. Of course, you guys know Nia Morgan's been on the show a few times, super friend of the program. Also, they participated over the weekend in the Minority Softball Prospects HBCU All-Star Game, which was held in Houston, Texas, at the campus of the University of Houston. So they were our Rattler representative. Also, I know the Minority Baseball Prospects had a baseball game the following day over also at Houston. And Jamichael Bastardo was the actual home run derby champion of that event. And so he gave us exactly, give him some applause. So we'll hear a little something from Mr. Bastardo here coming up as well. All right, gentlemen, let's see. I thought we'd get into talking about APR. How about that? Does that, or did you guys want to go in a different direction?
No, that sounds good. I do want to recognize two other great Rattlers real quick.
Oh, definitely. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Who we lost, Dr. William Tucker, who long-time astronomy teacher, introduced me to looking at the moons and stars at the planetarium on top of old Dyson Pharmacy. Some people don't even know it's there, but it's been there a long time. He also was a member of the 220 Club, retired professor. He, at one time, was I think faculty senate rep, and he was one of those guys who, put up a good fight, right? He didn't just rubber stamp things. He wanted things to be right, and he would challenge. So, we want to pay our respects to Dr. Tucker. Then also, I attended the funeral Saturday of Mr. Ozell Martin, who's a longtime university person, and he was actually our principal at FAMU High from like 86 to like 90 before he started working with Dr. Humphreys and moved on campus. But we lost him, and shout out to the Martin family. And another all great men, all long-time Rattlers, and all men of high character. High character. So I want to just mention those two also, along with Mr. Jackson.
Yes, sir. Marcus, care to add anything on? Did you have any familiarity with those two gentlemen?
Absolutely. Of course, a lot of the Martin clan went to FAMU High also. And then, Mr. Martin, after he retired, even though up until a few months ago, actually, I always talk about how I do events in security and have a security license. Well, Mr. Martin was part of our company, and he would work with us, and he would actually travel when we went to professional venues across the country. So he was very active, even though he had officially retired a long time ago. But yeah, I knew him. I used to talk to him all the time. And then of course Dr. Tucker, I had to deal with him a lot, both when I was an employee on campus as well as just in general. He did, once he retired, he did hang out socially a lot. I know he have a group, and I know Sam Dixon know him well. They had a group that get the clubhouse on Friday nights and lock it down. Can't nobody else get it. You couldn't have no event Friday night at a clubhouse because Dr. Tuggy they got it locked down.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Marcus, how about you? Any words?
If I recall, I think Dr. Tucker may have taught one of the sciences. I can't remember if it was physics,
astrology,
chemistry.
Yeah, he did. He did have some physics background too, but yeah.
And I probably had him for a class or two, way back in the day. But it was always, and he was pretty straightforward, no nonsense. But you could tell he was passionate and he cared about the students. So my condolences to his family.
All right,
Mr. Martin.
Yeah, definitely. Prayers and condolences to those fallen Rattlers and their families as well. Let's take a quick 5 minutes if we can and kind of do some shout outs. Let's, we kind of, skip the order of doing those. So anybody who's coming in, you might get a shout out. I want to remind you, coming up in hour 2, we're going to talk to Brooke Hudson, 2-time SWAC Libero of the Year and a recent published writer in Forbes.com, as well as Vaughn Wilson of HBCU Game Day and the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame. All right, so first off, we say hello to Ken. What up, Ken?
Ken.
Appreciate you, Ken. Edwin Moore got in a little bit early, too, thanks to those notifications.
What's up, Instigator?
Appreciate you. Exactly. Melissa Wilson.
Die.
Checking in. Good to see you. Thanks, Melissa. Tony. My dog.
Die.
Yep. Good to see you. Meredith checking in as well.
What's up, Meredith?
Dimitri Alford coming in.
What's up, 850?
Marcus. Good to see you, Marcus. Thanks for checking in.
What's going on, Macon?
Gail from Cleveland.
What's up, Cleveland?
Good to see you, Gail. Thanks for checking in. Gail, while I got you here as a shout out, Gail, I need to connect with you offline and figure out what day you want to come in and co-host as part of winning our March Madness contest. I told you, we won't come in if it's just a segment or an hour or the whole show. It's wide open, Gail. You come be a co-host for a show with us. So I need to reach out and connect with you. So maybe on, I know you're on Facebook a lot or even YouTube, Gail. Send us your a contact email address or something, so that way I can reach out if you're interested, obviously. Kenya, we say hello to you, Kenya.
She from New York City, boss.
Little baby checking in. Good to see you, little baby.
What's up, big baby?
Ashton checking in. Good to see you, Ashton.
P. Cola.
Sam Dixie, what up? Good to see you, Sam.
What's
up, Sam? M. Mac Webb checking in. It is a great day to be a Rattler. Yes, indeed.
What's up, Mac?
Tamara T checking in.
What's up, Tamara T?
Mary 305 as well.
What's up, Mary?
Jay Hunter. It has. Well, it has been
up?
Definitely an eventful week. It has indeed. Good to see. Let's see. Larry Sargent checked in as well. We got Larry early. Bull checking in. Good to see you, Bull.
What's going on, Bull?
Road Dog, Mike Reed.
What's going on, Mike Reed?
Man, we need to get some reviews, Mike. Get some reviews of the National Alumni Convention.
Enough said.
Yeah. Yeah. Besides the extra stuff, I heard we raised some good money. I heard some good money was raised at the National Alumni Convention. So that's good. Mike said he's in Alaska. Good Lord. Okay.
Oof.
You doing one of those Alaskan cruises? Is that what you're out there doing, Mike? Or are you scouting for you trying to do an HBCU event up in Alaska? Is that what you scouting for? Mike is always looking for ways to expand.
I know. See what stadium we playing in.
Yeah,
Alaska
stadium is in Alaska.
Nah.
Yeah.
They ain't got no pro stadiums. Mike ain't trying to arrange that.
Chuck Hunt checking in from Monroe, Louisiana. Good to see you, Chuck. Thanks for checking in.
What's up, Chuck?
Ezekiel Love to see you. Thanks for checking in, Zeke.
What's up, Zeke?
Will Davis, good to see you, Will.
Hey, Will.
EA checking in. EA, I don't know about what scoop. EA said it's trying to give us the inside scoop. I don't know. I didn't get any messages from you. You give me
I don't know who he reached out to, but who said we didn't have it?
Yeah, exactly.
Who said we didn't have it? We just chose not to.
Thank you. Yeah. Interesting. Very funny. Mary, I appreciate you. You know, this hat, I found there was a vendor outside of the Florida Classic that was selling this particular hat. Actually, I think they may even be based in Orlando, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'd seen somebody else rocking this somewhere, and I was like, oh, if I ever find a vendor who's got that, I got to get my hands on that lid. So yeah, appreciate the recognition. I wish I knew the vendor's name right off the top of my head. JT, good to see you, JT. Thanks for coming in.
What's up, JT?
Let's see. Anybody else? I know there's a lot of people who I may have missed. So we say hello.
Hello.
Exactly. Thank you. I know I saw that in there. I didn't know whether we had already shouted him out or not. So
what's up, Marvin Allen? Duval.
Okay, true. You keep seeing people. Good deal. Okay. Carrie Daniels from Jacksonville checking in.
What's up, Carrie?
I don't know. Look at Jimmy Mack already volunteering people, huh? Jimmy Mack already volunteering, huh?
GSP.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Let's see. Who else? Jens P. Yeah, definitely. There. Okay. Checking in. Okay. APR. APR was the story that just recently came out. The APR results. Kelvin, give a sort of a elevator pitch on what the APR is, and kind of where FAMU was prior to these numbers that were released for the 22-23 academic year. So not this past year, obviously, but last year.
Well, APR is something that NCAA started tracking in the early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
And it's a formula that they have. Yeah. And it's a formula that they have that kind of tracks progress toward a degree, essentially. And they give points and take away points based on, folks coming through your program, either graduating or if they transfer to another NCAA institution. So we've been on sanctions, probation before, and of course they have a 4-year average. They do it every year, but they judge it by the 4-year. They give you a 4-year rolling average, the most recent 4 years. So if you have a low score, it can drop off. After 4 years. If you have a high score, it drops off after 4 years. So I think most of the attention was centered around football. And we had heard and we had talked about that, we expected it was going to be a high number this year. And so for the first time in the past 4 years, we hadn't met that until to this last release. We had never met the APR requirements over the last 4 years in football. So this time we made pretty much a 50-point jump, 49-point jump. And we had a 950. And the highest you can get is 1,000. And we had 6 programs, athletic programs out of our 14 that made 1,000, got a perfect score. So it was a lot of positives in that. The jump in football was definitely a welcome change because of the number of athletes who on scholarship in football is the biggest sport. And then we had a couple of sports, one in particular that was a little bit surprising that didn't hit the 930 mark for the year, and that was basketball, men's basketball, and ladies track. I think it was outdoor and indoor track. Because cross country, I think was another one that had 1,000. So really good news. If you don't meet APR, typically you would have postseason bans in play. The NCAA and the rule is to try to keep it simple. So if you don't have the full year 930 average, then you have to have the most recent 2 years have a 940 average. And if you don't meet those, there's a waiver process typically that you can go to, and they have special category for low resource, which HBCUs are in that category. So there would have been a waiver available, but the NCAA is not enforcing any postseason bans for this year due to the impact of COVID still.
Yeah, I was going to say
So
it's been a few years, right? They haven't been
yes
for at least the last 3. What are we? 3 years post COVID now?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So next year though, football would need to hit the 950. Let me see, 930. No, they have to do at least 930 to hit that 2 year 940 average. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think, do you think, given the flux of transfers now and the freedoms that now student athletes have to move every year now, according to recent legislation and settlements with the NCAA, I've always felt like the APR thing is possibly on its way out. Now, I mean, I don't know if I've read that anywhere, but it just feels like it's going to be hard to hold some schools accountable for their APR, because you may have a student, for people who aren't know, you may have a student who's been at 2, maybe 3 universities in the past 2 years, and then that means their academic history follows them, and you don't know whether they've completed a course, how much of a course they completed. They may, there's so much paperwork that has to go on between the universities. I just wonder if this metric is even realistic in this day and age of college athletics.
It's not really, especially with the transfer portal. With the introduction of the transfer portal, it's pretty much impossible to consistently track. And the fact that they do it now, they have real time where people can transfer at any time, pretty much.
In the academic year, like one semester to the next. Yeah.
Well, within the transfer window of their sport. So for any reason. So, I do believe that is I don't think they'll introduce postseason bans again for that. And I don't know how long they're going to continue with it, because it's outdated at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just because, but just as a background, way back on the original MEAC fans, when this first got introduced, we had then Bethune-Cookman AD Lynn Thompson come on to talk about it, and he pretty much predicted, what it was going to happen with the HBCUs and our historical mission. And now that we've seen legislation, or basically all the lawsuits making the NCAA toothless, or at least, with dentures, I was thinking the same thing you were thinking, Bryan. How are you going to force it? Because we're actually seeing some players across different sports on their 3rd or 4th school, since the stay and then the eventual decision by the NCAA to capitulate and just, not even try to enforce the one-time transfer rule and just say, hey, y'all have at it. So I don't know how, because we're seeing guys or people across different sports on a 3rd or 4th team, whether it's, a couple Division I teams or a JUCO stop in the middle, and even seeing players who committed or were on campus coming out of the transition from fall semester, winter, and spring, and then transferring in the second transfer window in April. So I don't know how they're going to manage that. I don't without some type of national database or something that, and I don't even know the logistics around that. So yeah, it's going to be wild, especially if all those other things come to play that they're talking about with the larger schools are wanting to break away. Who's going to manage what? How are you going to police it?
So there you can see for the 22-23 rate that academic year, you see the 6 programs: baseball, women's basketball, bowling, tennis, volleyball, and golf, with softball, football, cross country, men's track and field, um, all clearing the 930 or better mark. And I think what's interesting, obviously, you mentioned you don't see men's basketball. What's interesting, you think about that year, right? That was how many? What type of? Think about the roster turnover for that men's basketball program going into that year. This was the season after MJ Randolph. Okay, so this was, and Coach McCullum brought in 9 new players. And what's interesting about this is the previous years, what men's basketball always had a good APR, didn't they? So you could probably draw some parallels to the fact that you brought in 9 new players, and then we know that the following year, you had another 9 new players. So how many of the 9 that you brought in actually even finished the whole year? Probably very few of them, if at all. Most of them probably transferred mid-semester. Probably didn't even finish the second semester. Who knows? I'm speculating here. Speaking of the APR and the low numbers, it's something that affects a lot of schools. I mean, there are a lot of schools in the SWAC that have been plagued by this academic progress rate. And we always go back to the staffs, the compliance staffs. And so, one of the things that was in place prior to AD Sykes coming in, and even giving her credit for putting emphasis on it, is the compliance. And she talked about those numbers, just as Kelvin had mentioned. So you see the rate there. And then also here is the the multi-year rate, in which you see the golf, a perfect 1,000 over 4 years. That's doggone impressive. Bowling. I'm gonna go back for a second. I don't think you saw bowling in that, did you? Was bowling in that previous slide? Yeah, they were. Okay, bowling was. Okay, so just think about that for a second. Women's basketball, volleyball, tennis, baseball, cross country, softball, women and men's track and field over the 4-year averages. This from AD Sykes. She says, quote, "I'm so proud of our student athletes, coaches, and support staff who have worked extremely hard to improve FAMU's NCAA APR rates through the implementation of early pre-certification, increased communication with coaches and student athletes, and other strategies. We were able to see immediate impact and improvement in our APR. I want to thank the FAMU Foundation for our partner, Nike, whose investment in summer school scholarships supported us in the accomplishing our single-year APR goals." And I think I did, if any of you caught her breakfast at the NAA, she kind of talked about some of those strategies that went into this. Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to add regarding APR?
It's good to see that. Well, Kelvin, you're on mute.
Just to drive home the fact that the correlation of investing resources, both money as well as people who are trained to review and advise our student athletes. This is the importance and the reward of putting that investment. you talk about the times we're falling short. Then think about it. We only had 1 or 2 people, and that wasn't even their primary role in doing this. So now we have a staff of 7 plus. So that's why it's important.
It is. And yeah, just to echo that, I mean, going back, and I saw someone, I want to say it was either Hollow or EA, mentioned that APR has been a thorn in our side for years. And going back 15, 20 years, we talked about in this program in terms of either APR or getting students certified. So this is a good milestone, and hopefully the trend will continue, and we'll be able to say that all sports are following suit. But once again, I'm just curious to see what the final disposition happens to be with all the upheaval and turmoil at the NCAA level. How are you going to manage that with basically you can have the freedom to move around as a conventional student versus the restrictions the NCAA put on it? How are you going to track that? And basketball, I mean, we talked about it a little earlier too. With all the roster turnover in the last 2 years, we were speculating on what the impact would be on APR just because of the massive turnover.
Yep, indeed. While we're talking about academic type things, the Rattlers have 160 student athletes named to the SWAC Commissioner's Honor Roll for the 23-24 year. The SWAC Commissioner's Honor Roll comprises student athletes with a cum GPA of 3.0 or higher during the fall and spring semesters. I don't know how many think about this. I'm going to read off just the numbers per team, and you tell me when you think about the total roster of this team. For example, baseball has 32 players. I got a feeling I feel like that's like 90% of the team. I don't know how many people are on the baseball roster. I would say maybe shy of 40.
35 to 40.
I was going to guess 35, right? So, I mean, think of that. 32 players from this past year made the SWAC honor roll. Men's basketball had 9 players. Football had 28 players. Men's golf, 7. Men's track and field, 13. Women's basketball, 10. Women's bowling, 6. Women's cross country / track and field, 24. Women's softball, 15. Women's tennis, 5. And women's volleyball, 11. So shout out to all those student athletes for handling their business in the classroom. Yeah, exactly. Shout out to them. Congratulations to all of them. I think 2 things that came from the NAA convention in Tampa over the weekend. There was a lot of things that came from that event, but I was going to stick to more so as it relates to athletics. Dr. Larry Robinson's state of the university address. I know that article was in our notes, but also just a couple of notes from AD Sykes's state of Rattler athletics. One of the things that caught me from what she had stated was she had a vision or a plan to help FAMU move towards being able to field a team competitively in all of the 18 sports plus cheerleading that the SWAC offers. Now, currently, we have the minimum, 14. And we kind of talked about this last week as it related to the Commissioner's Cup. Prairie View is the only program in the SWAC that fields a sport in every sport that the SWAC offers. They have 18 sports. I think they are the only program. They have the second largest. I think they had the second largest budget, if I recall. Prairie View has a 14.8. Southern has an 18.8 budget, but Southern doesn't field a sport in every SWAC sport offered. And she mentioned that her first sport that she would foresee bringing in would be women's golf. Any reaction to that, Kelvin? I know we're up against a break, and so I hate that I introduced this when I did, but Marcus, Kelvin, anything quickly you want to add regarding that?
It makes sense. We already got a golf coach, so you just add assistants and you know, a full-time assistant to help with the women's side, and it should be, you know, I think scholarships probably somewhere around 6 to 8. So it's not an expensive sport for us to add. So that would make it offer all the sport. I would like to see us offer all the sports that the SWAC has, but I also want to make sure, most importantly, that we fully fund and staff the sports that we do have, and that it doesn't take away for those revenue generating sports, which are so important for the budget and for visibility of FAMU Athletics.
Good point. Marcus, care to add anything there?
No, I agree. I was curious to understand the strategy around adding women's golf for her and making that on the forefront. But as Kelvin explained it, you know, it makes sense. You know, you don't have to have an additional coach. And in fact, the young lady who was the assistant golf coach, I'm not sure if she's still at FAM or if she's moved on. You know, I know she was the interim when Coach Rice went to Prairie View and then came back. So, you know, there may already be somebody available if she's still around. And I don't know to what degree on the positive it keeps us in terms of Title IX, but, you know, that's always another consideration. And the fact that schools, colleges in general are tending to have more women enrolling than men, then
Yep.
You have to go with the trend.
Yeah.
Facts,
definitely. Okay, coming up in the next segment at the top of hour 2, we're going to talk to Brooke Hudson, 2-time SWAC Libero of the Year, and also an author, writing recently for Forbes, student activist, the title of her article, Being a Student Athlete, Help Me Find My Voice as a Student Activist. I'm going to put the link in the chat during the commercial, so if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to click on it, read it. If you don't get to read it all, obviously during the interview, please make sure to read it. You know, so any questions that you have for Brooke, whether it be volleyball related or being a student activist, you guys drop them in the chat and we'll get her thoughts and questions on those coming up on the other side. So hang in there with us. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone. Hit that thumbs up and the like button wherever you're watching the show. And more importantly, share it with the family, please. Let them know we're here. Let them know they can find us on the Black College Sports Network. And get ready for Brooke Hudson coming up on the other side. We'll be back in just a moment.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Hi, my name is Michael Bastardo. I'm with FAMU, and make sure you guys check out all things FAMU Athletics with OG StrikeZone. Strike again.
All right, that's right. Strike again to the home run king himself, John Michael Bastardo. And joining us now is our 2-time, not one, but 2-time Libero of the Year, the baddest defender on the court, the Dean Queen herself, Brooke Hudson. Brooke, thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. So thank you for the amazing introduction.
Oh, well, hey, man, look, we appreciate you, appreciate all that you have accomplished and done on the court, off the court. So, I mean, when I read your article, I was like, oh, we got to get Brooke on. It's a great time to get her on. And first off, congratulations. I seen the pictures. You recently, I believe you recently graduated, correct?
Yeah, so I graduated in May with my undergrad or with my bachelor's, and I'm in my master's right now. I'll graduate from that in December, and I'm getting my master's in public administration from FAMU.
Nice.
All right.
All right. Great deal. Great deal. So let's kind of start with a little volleyball talk before we get into kind of the article and some of the things you're doing. And I mean, we didn't get a chance to talk to you when you came to FAMU, but talk a little bit about the transition of coming from Colorado State, which is where you were, to FAMU. What attracted, and for those of you who, newsflash, if you didn't read the article, it's in the article, but we always like to hear Brooke talk about it. So talk a little bit about the transition of coming to FAMU and what was it that attracted you to FAMU? What did you hope to accomplish or want to be able to achieve at FAMU?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said in the article, I loved my time at Colorado State. I really think I took that necessary step to grow as really a human being and like an adult outside of being in Houston. And so I got my offer from Colorado State when I was in 8th grade. So I had been around Colorado State for a long time. After the year 2020 and just the turn that the world kind of took, it was important to me that I put myself outside of volleyball. And I realized that volleyball wasn't the only thing that could take me far. And so I also knew that I wanted to have the chance to play Libero. Like I was the DS at Colorado State, which is the defensive specialist. And I knew that I had the ability to come in and like really be a consistent Libero at a good program. And so I only talked to HBCUs, knowing really the path that I wanted to take. And so my top 3 choices were actually Bethune-Cookman, Tennessee State, and FAMU. And FAMU was my last visit, and I loved the other 2 schools. And I didn't want to choose a school just because of volleyball. Like FAMU was obviously the best volleyball school. They had just won the SWAC. I took my visit the semester after they won the SWAC. And I loved it. I absolutely loved everything about campus, everything about the culture of the team, everything about what GoCon is really doing with the volleyball program. I just fell in love. And I told myself if I loved everything about FAMU outside of volleyball, that was going to be my choice. And I did. And so I committed. I really took the leap. They had won, so I knew it was a good program. But I really wanted to come in, and I knew I could be that leader. And so coming in, that was really the role that GoCon let me take on. And I helped alongside Isis Williams, who is the 4-year captain of FAM. But I really knew that I had the volleyball experience coming from a program. My freshman year at Colorado State, we finished top 10 going into the NCAA tournament. We went undefeated in conference, and we went 28-2 on the year. We lost one game, and it was the first game of the season, and the second loss was in the NCAA tournament. So I had that volleyball experience, and I had that leadership ability. I just needed the platform, really. And FAMU gave me that. We won back-to-back in 2022, sweeping the entire SWAC conference, and I won Libero of the Year, and I actually broke the record at FAMU for single-season digs. And I found out on Twitter. So I was on Christmas break, and I was scrolling, and Josh had put out a tweet that I had broken the record, and I was like, oh my gosh! And I texted him, and I was like, is this true? And he was like, yeah, so sorry I didn't tell you before. So that was really cool. And then I knew I had a COVID year. So it was really all getting into the master's program. And if I got in, I was going to take it. And I got into public administration master's program, took my 5th year, came up short in the conference tournament, but won Libero of the Year again, broke the record again. And I really finished my volleyball career in the light and in the space that I wanted to finish it in. And I knew that I was bigger than volleyball. And the impact that I had could be bigger than volleyball. And I think FAMU let me become the woman and the activist that I am today. And I am forever grateful. I am now a club volleyball coach. So I coach 17-year-olds and 15-year-olds. And a few of my kids, I'm trying to push to get recruited to go to FAMU, and really just speaking into, I know volleyball is a predominantly white sport, and showing little Black girls that you can be a good, passionate, loud, and aggressive volleyball player and do it well and still get the national recognition that you deserve. And doing it at an HBCU with other people that look like you is the best feeling in the world.
Beautiful. Well said. Well said. Go ahead, Kelvin. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
I want to know what brought about your passion for looking beyond just the sport. I know you have the love for the sport because you're teaching the sport.
Mm-hmm.
But what I mean, you talk about the Trayvon Martin situation, but just in general, what gave you this passion of activism?
So I am mixed. My mom is white and my dad is Black, but the moment that I can remember, my dad instilled in me that when I walk outside, I am Black in society. And I have a brother who is 6'4". He has an afro, and he is just blackety black. And so I always knew that those consequences that Black people bear in society, just because I have a white mom, I'm not going to get the easy way out. And I know I have some privileges in that, and I use those to my advantage. And sometimes I am in spaces that darker brown skin women aren't in, and I use that voice because Black women really are the anchor of society if we really want to look historically. So I think my dad did such an amazing job instilling in me that I am first a Black woman, and from the moment that I can remember. I watched the news every time I had to come home from school with my brother and my sister. My mom actually got to go to President Barack Obama's inauguration and got something signed. So we have that up, just very knowledgeable outside of just the average, what you go to school and learn. My dad did an amazing job instilling that in me from a young age. So I always knew the terror and the horror of being a Black woman in society and what that comes with.
That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Go ahead, Marcus.
Well, Ms. Hudson, thank you for joining us this evening. Can you talk about how, and I'm making an assumption here, the cultural changes or cultural shifts between growing up in Houston, attending college in Colorado, and then coming to FAMU has shaped who you are and the drive to be such a progressive person as it relates to making sure that you stand up for those and stand up for what you believe in?
Thank you. That's a really good question. So I've always been in like really diverse schools. Elementary school and middle school, just I've seen everybody around me, and I think my parents did an amazing job like putting me in a place to do that. Going into high school, so I had gotten my offer from Colorado in 8th grade, and then my freshman year, so my first ever unofficial visit was Harvard, and then going into my freshman year, I had gotten interest and talked to the Stanford coaches. And so my parents really kind of shifted their perception of like, if this is where volleyball is going to take you, we're going to put you in a private school and really get that education to surpass and put you in places to get into those schools. So they put me into a private school my freshman and sophomore year, and that was the first time that I really was like, oh wow, like everybody isn't on the same even mindset as me. Like some people had never even seen more than 3 Black people in a room before. Like that was what I was dealing with. The school didn't even have a Black teacher. Like, and so, and that was 2016. So it was the year Donald Trump got elected. And we do, every high school does like senior superlatives. And one of our senior superlatives at our school was Mr. and Mrs. Make America Great Again. And that was, I mean, I talked about the Trayvon Martin and realizing that like I am that pressure of what it means to be Black in society. But that at 16 was really the first time that I was like, oh, like kids are racist. Like kids really feel in their heart like hatred for Black and brown people, and experience racism. We had a blackout day. That was one of our like football day themes. And I wore a Black Lives Matter shirt. And it just so happened to be the day I took a picture for being best female student athlete for yearbook. And they took the picture. I got called to the dean's office and I got detention because I got dress coded. And then they blurred out the Black Lives Matter in the yearbook picture. It was just a black shirt.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. Immediately got out of that school. I told my parents that was not for me, but that was really the first time. I stuck my fist up in the air during the national anthem during one of my basketball games, and they stopped playing the national anthem after that. So there were like several occurrences where it was like, they don't want me here. Like they don't want somebody. And after that, I realized how comfortable white spaces are with very powerful, strong Black presences. And I knew that volleyball was a predominantly white sport, so I was going to be in that space. But I knew that at the time, social media was the best way to do that as a student athlete. And a lot of colleges were telling their student athletes, you can or you can't post this, you can or you can't post that. But Colorado State never shied away from that. They never shied away from reposting my pictures about sticking my fist up in the air or wearing my Black Lives Matter shirt. They never shied away from that. And even though Fort Collins was a very predominantly white space, I knew that Colorado State was going to allow me to let them be uncomfortable. And so I chose it. And they did a really good job. I got to write articles. I got to plan protests. I got to be on committees. So they did a really good job. And I think that was what really helped me be so confident and powerful in my voice now. Because the transition from Colorado State, which was Fort Collins was 2% Black population overall, to FAMU in Tallahassee, big culture shock. Again, like going from Houston to Colorado, that was a culture shock. And then Colorado to Tallahassee, another one. And I had to really change my perception because I had never been in a space with so many different Black perceptions. I had to change my ideology and my perception on what Blackness really is, and how for so long when you're in white spaces, yes, you are uncomfortable, but you're also, yes, you're making them uncomfortable, but you're also the spokesperson for Blackness. And I had this idea of what Blackness was that changed immensely when I got to FAMU. And I saw so many different levels of Blackness and just forms and expressions of pure just confidence and acceptance and safeness that I had never experienced before. And I think that is what really allowed me to now be the voice I am today. I don't think that I was truly as confident and as aware of the voice that I have when I was at Colorado State. I knew it, I used it to my abilities and I used it well, but I didn't push with the way I know I could have, because I was had this idea of like what Blackness in a white space could be. And now I'm Black in a Black space and there's no boundaries. There's no, like, I can truly just be. And that is, I think, why I got this fellowship. And I truly tell myself and I tell my parents, like, I wouldn't have even tried to go out for this fellowship and write this article for Forbes if it weren't for the push and the uncomfortability I had changing spaces to FAMU.
Deep.
No, Bryan.
Yeah.
Bryan, make a suggestion.
Please.
You need to record. Well, we're already recording it, but this is like a promo for FAMU and for HBCUs in general, because everything we've been talking about since we went matriculated at FAMU in terms of why you go to an HBCU, the even I guess the 4 or 5 years that you spend there where you have the burden lifted off you of having to prove. We need to make this a commercial or something, or a TED talk or something. But thank you for your answer.
Thank you for your question.
No, noted, Marcus. I will make sure to do the post editing. And you know what's amazing? What's amazing, Brooke, is I'm hearing what you're saying. I grew up in the Midwest, in Indiana, where it was black and white, and I grew up in private schools and multi. So I'm hearing you, and I'm like, man, I'm feeling what you said and how my trip to FAMU changed my life, and it's why I went to FAMU and got so far out of Indiana. Now this was a long time ago, so but I obviously I wasn't as eloquent talking about wanting to do the kind of things that you're doing. So I'm just listening, like applauding you. I want you to give a shout out to your mom and dad, because they I mean, I heard you give them love and shout them out, but man, they raised an amazing young woman. I give your mom and dad a shout out, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I give all my credit to just really them creating space to be able to just be me, like in my home, and like really. I mean, my dad is the most strong-headed, like, oh, he's turning 69 in a month, and like he's just an old Black dad. And we talk about starting a podcast all the time, like showing your age, because we have these very strong opinions and we go back and forth, and at the end of the day he looks at me and he's just like, I am just so proud of the woman I have raised, and I just give all the credit back to him. He has done an amazing job just raising a strong Black daughter in America, and I love him so much.
Shout out to Mr. Hudson.
Yes.
Man, I tell you that is, and I'm gonna tell you, I do that podcast thing. I'm telling you, while you're thinking about it, because I've thought about doing stuff like that with my dad and haven't done. I mean, he's still around, but I mean, I haven't done it. But do it while you're thinking about it, while you have time and energy. Do it. You never know where you may have you and your dad probably have great conversations, and you probably, I mean, it's stuff that I know a lot of folks would listen to. So I'd like for you to talk a little bit about what, in terms of student activism. What, obviously, here we are in an election year, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, there's all kinds of issues and topics. What, and this is a loaded question, but I'm going to try to see if I can narrow it down. What are some of the topics, or what is a topic that matters to your peer group? Because we understand, people who pay attention to elections know that your peer group, a lot of, like, I teach in high school, so a lot of young people are becoming first-time voters. Mm-hmm. And who knows, they're voting patterns may come from their family and their parents, but what are topics or issues that matter right now to you or matter to young people right now that maybe are being ignored by our generations or the people who are running for offices that they should pay attention to?
Okay, this one is a little controversial.
Okay.
So, I think the biggest one right now in our generation is the Palestinian Israeli conflict. I think a lot of people in not conflict, war and genocide. Let me fix my words for how I feel. A lot of young adults feel like their voices are not being heard right now, and it's a lot of college campuses. That is a big thing. Another big thing I think is reproductive rights and LGBTQ plus equality rights. Obviously, Black Lives Matter, that whole movement is still a big movement within us, but I think those four are really like the driving force. I.e., not even just reproductive rights, but like contraception and all of that. You see, like what happened in Louisiana, the bill that they just passed. They just passed two, actually. They just passed the Don't Say Gay bill, and they're banning contraception. Florida, the Freedom Summer, Ron DeSantis banned any lights from a government building that aren't red, white, and blue in reaction to Pride Month. So I think those, I mean, you see what's happening on college campuses with the Israeli and Palestinian war. So I think those are the biggest that matter. And I also am a gay Black woman in America. So I think those two things are really the biggest things that matter to me. I do say, in the way my dad raised me, is like, we can't really fix the problems overseas that we want to fix until we fix the problems here. And we have a lot of marginalized groups here that aren't even being talked about, let alone sending millions and billions of dollars to. So, I mean, just look at the HBCU funding, like billions of dollars are going away from HBCUs, but we can send billions to Ukraine, and we can send billions to Israel. Like those problems that are infrastructure, like those problems that we can fix here. I think we're really seeing our generation realize those problems and realize that, oh wait, but we are sending billions of dollars to over there. Like, I'm paying taxes for the first time and I didn't get any money back, and I'm like, what? Like, and so that, I think that is the biggest thing of like, oh, I'm an adult and it really doesn't feel like y'all are listening to me right now. So I think you'll see those conversations and those debates within the younger population of like why some people don't want to vote for Biden. Not saying I am 100% voting for Joe Biden in this November, but I think the push and pull of like, he's not listening to me, but they aren't either. Like, what do I do, and where do we stand as a population, and where do we stand as our voices matter too? So that, I think, is a big issue going into November. Thank you. Happy Pride, by the way.
Yeah, shout out. Kelvin, go ahead.
I want to switch back to the volleyball, the sport. You've had a chance to experience volleyball at a Power 5 conference and at HBCU, and now you're coaching young ladies. What do we need to know as alumni and fans of HBCUs? What do we need to know in order to push our program so that it can be consistently competitive with the bigger programs?
Yeah, I think. Okay, I'm not on the volleyball team
You
anymore,
can say it, bro. Hey, bro, don't hold back, bro. Don't hold back, because look, we spill it all here. So we tell the truth on the ONG. So tell the truth.
This is a safe space.
Amen.
Okay. I think being in the same season as football does not do us justice. I think we are consistently overlooked when we consistently put up the numbers, and sometimes other sports that get that recognition, i.e. football and basketball, don't see that money and see those gifts and see those Nike bags, and we're back-to-back SWAC champs and we didn't get a Nike bag. Like it's, or we won conference and we got the slides that football, the extra slides that football got for winning the West or whatever side they were on. They didn't even win the whole thing, and we got their extras for winning back-to-back. I think it's little stuff like that. We have coaches where Power Fives in Florida, we played Florida in the NCAA tournament. They have 6 coaches and a strength coach. Sometimes we don't even travel with a trainer. Like we had to get our own ice for ice baths the weekend of the conference tournament. Like those things that other schools have just at their leisure, volleyball, FAMU has, but volleyball doesn't get. Because it goes to the biggest sport. And we have LeBron as a sponsor of basketball, I know, but he wants to repost everything athletic wise, but not give any money to the first school, the first sport that brought a SWAC championship to you. Like it's little things like that where we don't even have a banner in Lawson. Like those things, the recognition is not investment. Like the recognition is not there. So it's hard to then continue to get those transfers and to continue to get those freshmen that are in the top 100 in their recruiting class, because they come on campus and we don't even have running water in our showers. Like how do we compete with even a PV who has a fully funded weight room and a fully funded, like those things? It's like we see that money going into athletics, but we don't see it going into volleyball. And even then, like there's sports under us that really don't see it. And so it's like, I'm so glad football finally won and won the HBCU national championship. Like I'm so glad that FAMU athletics as a whole is getting that recognition, but there were people before them that did it and we haven't seen it. And so it's really hard to then feel confident in an athletic department because it's like, oh, we're back here too. Like, don't forget us. And so it's just those kind of things really about volleyball.
Thank you for that insight.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Because we try to shine a light on as many of our athletic programs as we can, and so I think the more alum and alumni get a chance to hear from the coaches and the student athletes, and it means something. And I know you don't have any eligibility, so there's no sweat off your back. You can tell the truth. I mean, we know we love FAMU. We all love FAMU, but we know we got a lot of work to do in a lot of places. So that's why it's so honest to hear that. Marcus, I give you a chance to get the last question in with Brooke.
She provided that's a lot of pressure. She provided such profound answers. I'm hard coming up with a question. Well, let me just throw it back to the sport for 2024, and now that you're not on the team, but you can look at the team. What are your predictions for 2024? And if you can construct the perfect season, what would it look like?
Predictions for 2024. I think FAMU has I think we have a chance to get back on top. Gokhan always says we want the SWAC to get better, and when we won back-to-back, other schools looked at us and said, oh crap, what are they doing and how are they doing it? And they've started recruiting to kids that touch 10 foot and middles that can close blocks and outsides that are very powerful and setters that run a 5-1. So you see the SWAC really starting to up their level of play and competing more competition within the SWAC, and that is what we want. I think if I could construct a perfect season for FAM, it would be getting those preseason wins that we haven't been able to really get under our belt within the last couple of years. I think Gokhan does a really good job of like scheduling, and if we win games, our RPI can be pulled up against some of our opponents in the SWAC that will drop our RPI, but we have to get those preseason wins to get that. I'm speaking in foreign terms to some people, but RPI is like the math that they do for NCAA tournament. Yeah, okay. So when you get those preseason wins against teams that have won their conference and all that stuff, it really helps the math, because when you play a Mississippi Valley or you play an Alcorn, like that really lowers your numbers. So I think finally seeing those preseason wins again, because I think they'll be completely fine in the SWAC. You see SWAC volleyball is getting rid of their clusters. So that'll be a good thing for the athletes as well. Those clusters were awful. We played 3 games in 48 hours. We had 1 game last season. We played at Texas Southern. We didn't get finished until 1:15 a.m. in the morning. And we lost.
That was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. Salty about that. But so you see they're getting rid of that, which is better. So you see a more consistent travel schedule. So I think they'll be fine in the SWAC. I think Jackson returns a lot of their players. They won, but they are coach retired, so we don't know what's going to happen there. PV is always a good competitive program now. With you see T.O.'s daughters, they're starting outside. Then Graham got a Power 5 transfer, Libero, and Bethune got a transfer from FAMU. So it's really, there's competition all within the SWAC, but I think they're gonna match up well in the SWAC. It's all about how they do and finding their lineup early within that preseason schedule.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Bro,
Thank you.
That was awesome. Hey, look, I'm gonna put this out there before. Hold on, go ahead. I know what Marcus is gonna ask. I bet. Go ahead, Marcus. Go ahead. I bet I was gonna beat you to the punch. Go ahead, say it.
What are you doing this fall?
I knew it. I knew that's what Marcus was gonna say. I was gonna beat him to the punch. Hey, look.
Putting it out there to be a volleyball analyst for the
invitation, Brooke. Exactly. If you want in the fall, if your time and schedule allows, we'd love to have you on sometimes. We always talk volleyball every week, but we'd love to have somebody with your expertise and knowledge. And I'm sure you'll check the games out and go if you can.
Of course.
Hey, we'd love to have your analytical view on the show to talk about the team and maybe other stuff, whatever other stuff.
Yes, of course. Just reach out whenever. I coach volleyball. That's my full-time job. I'm a director at a volleyball club. So really reach out whenever, and let me know.
It's done. It's done. You are now minted, friend of the ONG, our volleyball analyst, Brooke Hudson. There you go. They're making it official. Wow, Brooke, man, it is a pleasure to talk to you. I'm going to give you the last word. Any shout outs, anything you want to plug, anything you want to put on our radar to watch or read. The time is yours. I'm going to give it to you.
I'm going to plug my fellowship. It's called theteam.org. I actually am going to DC in 10 days. And I get to go to the White House. I get to meet some Congress members. And I get to give a little mini TED talk about my Forbes article and my project that I did. So I'm going to plug that. Look out for some pictures and videos with that. Plug my Instagram, and I have a volleyball coaching Instagram. Just search up Brooke Hudson on Instagram and it should come up. But I really want to say thank you to ONG StrikeZone for letting me come on and really talk about what I'm really passionate about. I love the sport of volleyball, and I love educating on what really is important. So thank you. I love FAMU, and I'm a forever Rattler, and I just give all my thanks to FAMU volleyball and that program, because without them, I would not be the human being I am today. So,
ladies and gentlemen, give it up to Brooke Hudson, future ONG volleyball analyst, but more importantly, exactly, that's a mic drop, man. Awesome stuff, man.
Thank you so much.
This is great. Give again your Instagram handle again, so where people can find you.
Just search up. Well, my name on Instagram is Coach B Huddy, and then my regular Instagram name is BHuddy09. My favorite number is 9. I was number 9 at FAMU. So, or just search up Brooke Hudson and it should come up.
Great. And we got some alums in the chats. We're gonna work on those banners, because we got to get that figured out, man. I hope that, I don't know if that was on the list of needs, but doggone, we got to find a way to get some banners. We got some people in the chats that'll sponsor that thing. We got to get some banners up for those championships, man. Our volleyball program is just too strong, and we got too many titles all over the place, SWAC and MEAC. So great job, Brooke. Congratulations on the article. Again, I enjoyed reading it. Hopefully everybody got a chance to check it in the chat. I will post it one more time in case you just joined us and didn't get the link, but it's on Forbes. Again, the title of the article is Being a Student Athlete Helped Me Find My Voice as a Student Activist. Forbes.com. So again, Brooke, thank you for your time tonight. Again, props to the parents doing a great job. Shout out to all the coaches and good luck with your here I got a final question for you on the way out. Tell us the SWAC place and opponent that you least liked.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to be real messy here. Opponent, Alabama State. The rivalry, all of it. Love playing them, but hate losing to them. Place, probably Bethune. Bethune is up there. The gym, the lights, the low ceiling, all of it. But we always get to go to the beach, so I will always like going to that trip. But the gym is just awful.
There you go. Beautiful. I love it. Shot anytime we can throw a quick little shot to Bethune, it's all good. Appreciate you, Brooke. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Brooke Hudson. What an awesome interview.
Yes.
Brooke. Shout out. And I think we secured a volleyball analyst for the fall. So that's awesome. I was right there with you, Marcus. I knew when I heard her break that down, I was like, oh, we got to. Who's going to ask the question? Is it me? If Marcus wasn't going to ask it, I was going to ask it. So I'm like, we got to ask her. That's awesome. Awesome stuff. Okay. Coming up right after this short commercial break, Vaughn Wilson's going to join us, FAMU Sports Hall of Fame and HBCUGameDay.com. We got a couple things to talk to Vaughn about. How am I being messy? Come on, guys. I'm not being messy. I haven't even started yet. Just hang tight, though. It might get messy. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Let's talk to Vaughn in a second. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Insight.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Bryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
right, welcome back to the ONG Strike Zone. Bryan, Kelvin, Marcus, and there he is joining us. None other than the FAMU Sports Hall of Famer himself, also a DJ in another life, and also
no, he's still a DJ.
Still a DJ? You still DJing? Still DJing.
That's DJ Ace.
Got to get a shout out to Brother Marquise. We lost one of the original Two Live crew members yesterday, man.
Yeah.
I saw that. I saw EA posted that in. I was going to find a way to work that in somehow. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Of course, Vaughn Wilson here, HBCUGameDay.com is where you can find a lot of his work today, any day of the week. Well, Vaughn, brought you on for a couple of different things, but primarily, of course, the news came out earlier this week, a couple days ago, the passing of Mr. Eddie Jackson. 220 Club chairman, and I wanted to kind of give you an opportunity. Read your article, and anyone who didn't read it, there's been some nice words said, not only by you, Gerald Thomas, GT3, and the Democrat, but share with us. And I think here's my thought. I think you have, and I think I'm safe in saying this, that for me, hearing about the 220 Club maybe 10 years ago was like this mythical group, this group that you're like, oh, where do they do this at? And who is this group that contributes? And where? Oh, they're in Tallahassee. Oh, okay. But bringing them into this internet space, you have been a big part of bringing their visibility to more Rattlers. And for those of us who follow and love athletics the same way all of those people do that are gathered almost every Wednesday at noon, we get to talk. You talk to coaches and sometimes student athletes. But so I wanted to give you a chance to kind of talk about Mr. Jackson and just how being a part of the 220 Club has sort of maybe helped you, been therapeutic for you, been impactful for FAMU athletics. So I'll stop talking and let you talk.
First off, I got to give a shout out to my wife. It's her birthday tomorrow, so I am on the clock tomorrow as chef from the morning through the night. So she doesn't like to go out to restaurant. She likes me to cook. So I just had to get that out of the way before we got started. But talking about Eddie Jackson, as I told someone who asked me about my relationship with Eddie Jackson. Eddie Jackson is the reason that I'm a Rattler. And it starts when he was a sports information director back in the 60s, in the late 60s. Back then, they didn't cover HBCU football like it's covered now. We're fortunate. We got ONG StrikeZone. We got this platform, that platform. It was a footnote in the newspapers. So what would happen is when the head football coach would visit to recruit, they would stop by the local newspaper, and that's how you got articles in. And Mr. Jackson was great at that. He was one of the best sports information directors in the country. Twice his media guides won accolades from COSADA, including one year it was considered the 8th best media guide in the country. And so that's the kind of guy he was. He excelled at everything he did. So in 1969, Mr. Jackson was with Jake Gaither, and they happened to go to Ocala. And everybody knows Jake Gaither talked a lot. He was funny and had great stories, and he was a great person to be around. But when they went to Ocala and they went to the newspaper, for the first time in his life, there was a black sports editor. And that was my dad at the Ocala Star Banner. And Mr. Jackson says, all the way from Ocala to Tallahassee, Jake was quiet. Jake Gaither barely said a word. And they stopped when they pulled up to the gym when they got back. And Coach Gaither looked over at Eddie and say, Eddie, go get that fella. And he was talking about my dad. Coach Gaither wanted Eddie to bring my dad to FAMU. And Mr. Jackson went and negotiated with my dad and got him up there, and we've been Rattlers ever since. So that's how the story goes, that my dad, who was a Wildcat, became a Rattler for life.
Oh wow. Okay, did not know that. Man, that's a cool.
Yeah,
That's a
so that's
story. That's a cool
so
tie-in.
me and Mr. Jackson, obviously, being one of the first people my dad met from Tallahassee, Mr. Jackson, our families just were close over the years. His daughter, when Mr. Jackson would have to go with Dr. Humphreys, and Miss Jackson would go, Alicia would stay with us. So our families were really close. I just knew him as a great guy that was always doing great things. And you look back at when FAMU won the Time magazine Princeton Review College of the Year, Dr. Humphreys turned right around and gave the first ever presidential medal to Eddie Jackson because he felt he was integral into making that happen to make us the College of the Year. So that's how important he was. That's just scratching the surface of Eddie Jackson and all the things he's done. So when he started the 220 Quarterback Club at Old Times Buffet in Tallahassee, we used to just go over there and pack in the back of the buffet. The Old Times Buffet would give us a deal. They would only charge us $8 for the meal. And so Mr. Jackson would charge all the members $20. And the rest of that 12 of the members, 12 of the money, $500 would go to athletics every week. And whatever little money was left over, they put in the kitty to try to build up some revenue for whatever is necessary. And that's where it started. And then, it grew from 20 people to taking up, they had to move the group. It was in a small room. It had to move to the back of the buffet and take up literally the whole back half of the buffet as it grew and grew in popularity and more people became interested in it. And the athletic departments were appreciative of it. All of the football head coaches and basketball, all of the coaches became appreciative of it. And even the university. I mean, when the Marching 100, not the Marching 100, but when our band went to Carnegie, the 220 Quarterback Club donated $7,000 for that trip. And it just, I think the reason that the 220 Quarterback Club was successful is because it never took on these big, gigantic tasks. He was smart enough to know that people needed to see where their money was going. So he would do tasks that were short term. You get the donations in, and then you could see the results. Mm-hmm. And that is the key of why the group became so trusted. They did everything they said they were going to do at every turn. Everybody was confident in investing their money. And it just, when Old Times closed and it was looking for a home and found the Old West Florida situation. I mean, there were some times where that you couldn't always see it on the cameras because, one time I said, Mr. Jackson, we ought to broadcast this. And I can't remember what the situation was. I said, we need to stream this. He was like, we can't stream this. I said, yeah, we can stream it. Just let me do it. I'll do it. We had some special guest in. I don't remember. But man, the comments that we got online and the questions and the interaction, and from there, it was the point of no return. It was the point of no return because people started sending money from the broadcast. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it expanded the effectiveness of the 220 Quarterback Club because people literally all over were watching those little quirky meetings on Wednesday night. It was Wednesday lunchtime, it was no fun without Mr. Jackson getting up and with those jokes. He had the most jokes, but he would also mix in a lot of history with his jokes. He'd make jokes, but man, if you really listen to him, he would tell you some FAMU history. Mm-hmm. And it's just his whole demeanor. And he once told me this, and he got criticism for this. The 220 Quarterback Club would never take a position on any controversial issue at FAMU. That's not what the 220 Quarterback Club was there to do. It was not there to take sides. It was there to support the university. Yep. And so some people criticized him along the way for that, but it was the right thing to do. It kept the reputation of the club above the fray. Not to say he wasn't frustrated about things. Don't get me wrong. He was frustrated about things, but he just felt for the benefit of the group to remain and stay focused. That we were there to support the university. We weren't there to get into the inner workings and try to control anything that was happening on campus.
Yep. Regardless of who's in what position and doing what, the goal, you got to keep the goal in mind. Go ahead, Kelvin.
I'll also add, Vaughn, that it was never about him. You know, even though it was about him because he was the catalyst for everything, he never made it about him. And his humility as a servant leader endeared him to everyone. You know, sometimes leaders, it can be cliquish, and some people like it, some people don't. And I don't know anybody who don't like Mr. Jackson. I mean,
yeah, he was. You're exactly right, Kelvin. He was that old school Rattler. He appreciated that he got his degree from FAMU, and he said he would never get the things in life that he had without FAMU. So he dedicated himself to trying to help it make it better, dedicate his life. Let me tell you, the last couple of times y'all saw Mr. Jackson, we didn't know it was coming to this end, but we knew he was sick. And we were like, Mr. Jackson, don't come. Tell us what to do. We can do it. And he'd say, okay. And then we'd have plans to go. And then the next thing he'd do, he'd show up. Now, we were glad to see him. But the point was, his vision that he set forth has to continue. And we as a 220 quarterback club have to continue those missions. That's the reason why you saw a week ago we did that broadcast. It's just a midweek broadcast from the golf locker room. It's because he wanted to take a break. But some of us in the 220 quarterback club are like, hold on, this is the time of year where we do our quick fundraiser to raise the money for the cooling chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been raised because we, we're just keeping it in people's minds. It's almost like they know what their responsibilities are. And it's an easy ask. And that cooling chamber is on the way. It'll be here sometime in July. The best way that we can honor Mr. Jackson is to continue the things that he started and continue to find ways to improve FAMU athletics and FAMU. Point blank and simple. There's nothing else we can do to better honor him and to continue the tradition of the things that he led the way with.
Absolutely. And to that point, Vaughn, and I see some of the folks in the chats are talking about, we had the $1 million fundraiser he did. I know we raised some funds for women athletics, and we just had a Brooke Hudson on talking about and she's absolutely right. We don't have banners up in Lawson for volleyball with all that rich tradition. So my question is, and this question, you may or may not have a response right now, but we've got to fill that void. So what's next? All right, with 220 Club.
Now I'm stepping outside because there is no hierarchy right now. We're giving Miss Jackson some space. We're supporting her. She's been in contact with me to assist them and her family. Like I say, our families were close. We have not mentioned one thing about the 220 quarterback club. Now, some members of the club and some of the key members and I have talked and trying to devise a plan. Unfortunately for us, we were not able to download the full scope of the $1 million campaign for Mr. Jackson. Mm-hmm. But that can't deter us from doing the best we can to raise as much money as we can for FAMU athletics, as much as we can. And he did leave us with a blueprint of how to operate the 220 quarterback club and how to continue to engage our alumni and encourage them to give. And Mr. Jackson was smart, man. Let me tell you, he was smart he would do really small campaigns at the 220 quarterback club, and you're like, why is he doing this campaign? Because you're teaching some people to give $10, and then after they give $10, then they can step up, But if you start training them with $10, then and they're a part of that, and that gets done, then you're grooming them to give more. So he was really smart in doing that. And I sat back and watched that, and I was like, that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
One last thing, Vaughn, Dr. Ozell Martin and Bill Tucker also passed, and I was able to go to Dr. Martin's funeral, but just kind of speak to those two giants too.
Well, let me tell you, Bill Tucker, he fought for the faculty. He was the president of the faculty union. And while he was there, he really fought for the faculty to get raises. It eventually happened, but I've never seen somebody so diligent as Dr. Tucker. Very smart man. But let me tell you, you talk about streaming. He was one of the first people I ever seen stream with a laptop and a camera. And it was a trustees meeting because he was challenging the board of trustees, and they weren't streaming at this time. So he did his own stream to kind of put pressure on the board of trustees. So I'm telling you, that's how smart Bill Tucker was. And he was a great Rattler, and may he rest in peace. Ozell Martin came down from Michigan and came, and he was the principal at FAMU High School. I said high school. I don't say DRS too often, but he was principal at FAMU High School while I was there. And a great guy. A great guy. I got to tell this story. This is one story about Ozell Martin. Yeah, I'm a Libra, so I'm very, very level-headed. But if you know about a Libra, if you push them across the mark, then they become this crazy person that you don't want to deal with. So somebody told me one day in the lunchroom that somebody had messed with my sister at FAMU High.
Uh-oh.
And that Libra turned to a Leo the Lion in no time. And I had a fight, and I tried to beat the living daylights out of who I fought with. Kelvin knows who it is. I'm not going to say the name. But I had to go to Ozell Martin's office. And he just sat there and looked, Wilson, what are you doing? Wilson, what are you doing? I mean, it's like for 10 minutes, that was the answer. Wilson, what are you doing? At the time, I think I was the captain of the football team, one of the starters on the basketball team. I was on baseball, SGA, just everything right. And here I am fighting. And I guess he's looking like one of my model students. And so I explained it to him. And he just sat there and shook his head. He said, Wilson, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. so I laughed. I broke my laugh. But I was like, that's the realest thing anybody could have said. When I told him somebody had messed with my sister, he was like, yeah, Wilson, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And he let me go back to class. So Ozell Martin was a great guy. He led with common sense. And that's what you're missing a lot of times in leaders. Ozell Martin led with common sense. I saw Sheila and Mrs. Martin today, his wife, of course, played football with Daryl and Ozell and Dwayne at FAMU High. So we lost three good ones. We lost three really good ones. And Ozell Martin also worked in that Humphreys administration. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing what we're talking about in the wings. And one reason Humphreys was successful is because he had great people around him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mark, I see some various questions from the chat. Marcus, you want to get in there with anything for Vaughn?
No, go ahead. Let the chat. You can go ahead and prioritize.
How many? What's the role? Well, how many members is it the 220 club these days? Any idea?
Man, so since we don't have a membership or have dues or anything, any money you pay is going to be donated to something. So as far as a registry or a role, anybody who comes in and attends a meeting, you're a member of the 220 Quarterback Club. Anybody who sends a donation in from out of town, you're a member. So who knows how many how many members there are? The only uh, barrier to entry is your first donation, and then you are in the fold.
Talk a little bit about the $1 million campaign, because I as we were talking earlier in the show, I feel like that was still in its infancy stage of promoting. So where are we with that?
You hit the nail on the head. I had told Mr. Jackson, listen, we're going to need a public campaign, a massive public campaign to raise that kind of money. Can we do it? I say yes, but we're going to have to pull out all the stops. We're going to have everyone on board with us. We're going to have partners. The National Alumni Association had agreed to help us with some things. So everybody knew what the 220 Quarterback Club was. They knew the reputation. So getting partners to help make this happen would not be hard. Without us having the blueprint that Mr. Jackson had envisioned, it's going to make it a little more difficult. But the 220 Quarterback Club is still committed to raising that money. It's going to be difficult, and it's going to have to be a team effort. Kelvin asked about who's stepping in. Right now, Dr. Jerry Jackson, Eddie's wife, all of us have just said, listen, we're going to let her lead from the visionary standpoint. Now, others of us are going to step in to different roles. But as far as the visionary, we want to keep that with Mrs. Jackson, keep that within the family. But those who've been working, man, let me tell you, there were a lot of people that worked in me doing streams, Selvin and Colonel Joe helping to do their background work. We had our bookkeeping team at the front desk, Miss Jackson and the decorating committee. It was actually a lot of people working together, and I think that was the beauty of the whole thing. It was ours. It's Mr. Jackson's, but everybody felt ownership in it. And the crazy thing is, we started seeing younger and younger people coming to it, because the group started out as a group of it was for retirees. It was a weekly lunch of retirees. Right. But let me tell you, especially as of late, the group is getting younger and younger, adding on. So that's why you can't even put a number. I don't think we have a roster anywhere that will have a number to tell us how many people were in the 220 Quarterback Club. Everybody who gave was in the 220 Quarterback Club. And so it's going to take a team effort. We're going to get past Monday, which is Mr. Jackson's funeral. Okay. But shortly thereafter, many of the people who helped support and work with the 220 Quarterback Club, first off, my opinion, it should be now called the Eddie Jackson 220 Quarterback Club. That's my opinion, because he was such a figure in it, and his mark on it. And if Bryan, you were always on watching the 220 Quarterback Club, and one thing, I was
supposed to be at work. Don't say that too loud.
On your lunch break. On your lunch break.
Right. Exactly. I was on my lunch break.
Mr. Jackson always made a joke about when he was quarterback. He always made the joke about when he was quarterback. But you know what? He darn sure was the quarterback of the 220 Quarterback Club.
He was.
He was our quarterback. And so while he might not have stats or whatever, quarterback is what? The team leader? That's Mr. Jackson. The guy who makes the decisions? That's Mr. Jackson. The guy who makes the big plays, like the coming up with the idea to raise $50,000 for women athletics. That's Mr. Jackson. So he indeed was a quarterback.
Let me see. Another question from Demetra. Okay, so in terms of how are you connecting? Obviously, the YouTube channel is based on Eddie Jackson's name, I believe. I know I follow it, but in terms of, and I know you created a web page. So, what is the means of connecting? How would you encourage people to connect, not only with just the club, but even the $1 Million Initiative, and just that way, so that way people can kind of log this in onto their browsers and YouTube pages and things of that nature?
You know what, Brian? As you say that, what's going to need to happen at the 220 Quarterback Club, and this is the beauty of this club. What I do for a profession is I own a media company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in campaign season, so I'm working with different campaigns. The 220 Quarterback Club actually needs what I do as a profession.
True.
But I often donate that as a part of the pot. I never want anybody to sign anything for in kind or whatever. I know what the goal is.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are all going to have to jump in and put together the real push, the real campaign. And I think right now, in honor of Eddie Jackson, is going to be our biggest ticket to getting people to open their checkbooks and purses in honor of Eddie Jackson and his vision for helping FAMU athletics. That needs to be the mantra. Let's not let him down. And I mean, it's just not a mantra. That's real. Mm-hmm. He wanted that to happen. So we, as those who have been helping, I unfortunately had to call Willie Simmons.
I saw his post,
and he was broken. He was broken. They had a chemistry out of this world.
They did. Those were the best. Those were the best Wednesdays when Willie would come in. Definitely.
Yeah, they had a chemistry out of this world. So he was just dumbfounded, and he was like, "Vaughn, there is no way I would have been successful as I was without the support of Eddie Jackson and the 220 Quarterback Club."
Mm-hmm.
And so when you know the effectiveness of that. One of the things that Willie Simmons was good at doing was telling us what we needed for our football team to get to the next level. And year after year, it increased. But the National Rattler 220 Quarterback Club, National Alumni Association, they filled those gaps that he kept saying needed to be done. It took all of those groups together. Those groups together provided the resources for that championship. All four very critical, all of them. But what I really like about it, no one group is going out there and saying they did it. No one group is trying to take that credit. We know we did it together, not to pull a bandage off of an old wound, but this is why we had the situation in January, because we felt confident and we had invested in making this system, and we did not want that system to end.
All right. Did the web page that you had worked on the web page? I thought I saw what.
Yes, the web page is active, and it's very easy. 220qbclub.com. 220qbclub.com. You can go there. Easy links to donate. We'll keep it updated with information and things that we're doing. It was my goal to make it super simple for people to go and donate. You shouldn't have to be going through it. It's direct. It's a direct. If you click something, it goes directly to, and that's it right there. It goes directly to where you can give to what you want to give. And there's some pictures up there of some of the things that have been done in the past. The cooling chamber, the donation to women's sports, and some of the other things. And what a lot of people might not know if you don't watch the 220 Quarterback Club meetings, they were honor students, just students that would do great things on campus as well. It was based on athletics, but with the university, when people at the university, whether students excelled, we will make sure that they will receive something, because we were students once too.
Yeah. So there's the link, everybody, 220qbclub.com. While we've got you, Vaughn, what came out over I saw another article you wrote on Friday about the 11 new members of the 2024 Sports Hall of Fame class.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading from your article on the Tallahassee Democrat. It will be the 48th enshrinement weekend, Friday, September 27th through Saturday, September 28th. Who do we play that weekend? Anybody know offhand?
Alabama A&M.
Okay. The class includes 2 women's athletes, 3 male athletes, 2 coaches, 1 supporter, and 3 financial contributors. The athletes include, and if I get a name wrong, please correct me, but I think I can say all these. Andrea Aaron, women's track and field.
Nobody knows Andrea, but you say Pooh. Everybody knows Pooh.
Pooh, okay. I'll see. I didn't. Okay. Tracy Parker, volleyball.
Yes.
Charles Hobbs Sr., football posthumously. Many of you are probably familiar with Charles Hobbs Jr. He writes a great blog post, and I know he posted something. Okay, in recognition of his dad. Harvey Cooper, baseball, and Philip Poncho Malcolm of baseball, also posthumously.
Let me stop you.
Yeah, please.
Poncho Malcolm and Cooper played together in baseball. They were the FAMU team that went to the NAIA championship and lost the championship game.
Okay.
The team batted over 400. One year, Poncho batted 529.
Good Lord.
Right.
The team average was 400. That's crazy.
The team averaged 400.
Who they were playing? Myers Park?
No, they were running that NAIA, man. They were running that NAIA.
Man, what year was that? What were the years on that?
I think it's like around 59.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
529.
The coaches are George Ellis, swimming and diving. I remember when we had a swimming and diving team. Matter of fact, well, let me not say this. But I remember when we had a swimming and diving team. I remember some of the young ladies that were a part of that. I used to enjoy going to the swimming and diving and whatever.
Well, he is the reason we had a swimming and diving team. He came and competed, and the year after he graduated, he became the coach and took it from a club sport to a collegiate sponsored sport. Swimming, men and women swimming and diving. And he coached it for about 30 years, winning championships in the SIAC. He was strong.
And also the former head men's basketball coach, the last coach to lead the men's basketball program to the NCAA, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. Mike Gillespie, who is I believe the second winningest coach in FAMU men's basketball history. I remember we were kind of doing that research there.
Yes.
The honored contributors and supporters include financial contributors Ella and Lloyd Cobbs,
Big Daddy,
Mr. Rick Kinsey. Shout out, Mr. Kinsey. He sometimes watches the show. I haven't seen him in the chats yet.
The Ellises,
yeah,
too.
last week when we
the Ellises do. Okay.
Yeah.
When we did the 220 quarterback club from the golf locker room, y'all couldn't see it, but the whole floor is a putting green. It's artificial turf, but it has actual cups in there.
I heard that.
Rick,
It was a great description. I wish we could have seen it. I told when we had Coach Rice, I was like, we got to get there so we can see that.
Well, Rick Kinsey raised the money for that.
Uh,
You know, of all the other things, it's just amazing when you go in there. And of course, you know, the golf team won the championship. He really supports that golf team, the national championship golf. He bought the electric cart so the guys would not have to pull their clubs.
I saw that.
He was his contributions were a big part in the HBCU national championship for golf, which, you know, we had lost a few years ago, but fortunately for people like Rick and donors, we were able to get golf back, and we got another big trophy.
Man, I tell you, that support pays off, man. We can't piss off those contributors. Let me stop. And also,
I was not in Tampa. I'm just saying that I was in Kansas.
I didn't say
people been asking me about Tampa. I was in Kansas.
All right, you were in Kansas, exactly. And also the other supporter, Reverend Dr. R.B. Holmes.
Yes, you know, often in the 220 quarterback club, when we do an initiative, Reverend Holmes and his wife always send a check, and then they challenge their church to do that. So that is a big piece of the 220 quarterback club. If everybody can remember when we had the deficit was just hanging out there. He had this Friends of FAMU, and they did a legacy banquet, and they raised $250,000 that they gave directly to athletics. So he's been supporting over a period of time and continues to support. So glad to see it.
Now I'm gonna take a point of special privilege here, Vaughn, and ask early. I would really like and hope, and you know, I know what you do, and I know weekends are busy, but you will probably be in town that weekend. I would love for that enshrinement to be streamed. I would love for people to get a chance to see that, and I know, you know, you and Alvin work on putting that together, and I always feel like it's one of those things that we have to continue to talk about and brag about our history and legacy, because there are so many great moments, performances, athletes, contributors, and so we have to continue to talk about and brag about and promote and talk about our sports Hall of Fame.
Yes, and I have to add an addition to that list that might not have been on the Democrats list, but Dr. Larry Robinson is going into the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame. There's a tradition in the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame since its inception that a president who is a sitting president when any team wins a national championship is immediately enshrined. This year with football is basically when it was decided, but golf just really took it over the top. But also on Dr. Robinson's resume is the fact that the way that the academic and compliance situation was fixed by finally taking that by the horns, and so that we can be proud yesterday. I mean, as much as a win, when those APR scores came out, I was proud. And they can say what they want to. I wrote a bad article about the university. You know what Dr. Robinson told me? He said, I hear you. And he didn't just hear me, he fixed it. It's when I say it's fixed, and what I kept saying is that it needed to be taken out of the hands of athletics, because athletics people are coaches and athletic administrators. Put it in the hands of some academics people. And you wonder why we had 6 perfect scores and then everybody's up. It's because academic people are handling academic functions now. So he decided to take that by the horns after that. And so he is also in this class.
Okay. I do remember hearing that proclamation made at one of the 220 Club sessions, meetings, luncheons. And so when I didn't see that in the article, I paused. I didn't say anything, but I kind of paused. So, I mean, it's okay. It's cool. That's great. And
hey, let me just add, shout out to Rika Calhoun. who had a large role in most of that staff that's in place currently, who because they were initially under her compliance until the new AD got on board, and so a lot of those people are already hired. So I want to give her flowers too.
Oh, absolutely. This work was done shortly after the debacle. Dr. Eddington, I got to give him credit. He oversaw the restructuring of FAMU athletics, academics, and compliance, and he did it with precision. They put the people in place. They got the people trained, which is key. You know, I got to say, sometimes FAMU athletics had people there who weren't properly trained, and that's no good. It's an art to doing compliance in athletics. It's an art, and you have to be trained. And you know, so that is a badge of honor that we wear now. That academics and compliance is fixed. I was so proud when the report came out this year, as opposed to, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna be eligible? It's so we don't have any of those issues.
No, we don't. So again, that's the Alabama A&M weekend, September 27th, 28th, Friday. And I'm sure as we get a little bit closer around that time, we'll start hearing about how people can purchase tickets to attend the event or watch the event if you can't be there to contribute. And we'll have to start doing our homework and try to figure out ways how we can invite maybe some of those future Hall of Famers on the show. Maybe we can even get to Tallahassee and do some live stuff, you know.
And I'll get you numbers and contacts of anybody you want to talk to. You know, it's kind of an honor to follow in that path that Coach Hansel took. Started the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame.
It started in what year, by the way? What year did it start, by the way? How far did it go back?
1976.
So okay.
1976. And
we're almost at 50. Yeah, 48 years. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And it's just been a great thing to see FAMU greats and to find out things like this team batted over 400. It's amazing when you find that and you get stats that back it up, and you like, FAMU is so great that it took these guys this long to get in. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
And none of our facilities should be without the banners or the recognition in the outfields and on the walls and in the rafters of all of our conference. And I mean, we've been a part of three great conferences and 2 divisions. All that stuff needs to be recognized and known, so that when people look in the rafters or they look on the walls in the outfields, that they see that, you know, these great championships have been won, and there's a lot of history here. And you never know, you know, you put that stuff out in public, somebody goes and searches, somebody goes. And I know when I was in college and I learned, you know, about winning a title in 78. I did my research. I went and looked back, and I'm like, what, FAMU won a national title? And what, you know, so I go back and you go find articles, and curious minds don't come just by accident. You got to see stuff.
Well, so, you know, I was backstage listening to our volleyball player. And I immediately, when she was talking about how good FAMU volleyball was, my old self, I went back to 2004.
Oh, yeah.
The first time that a HBCU hosted an NCAA regional. Trifonov had beaten Nebraska at Nebraska with a ridiculous, almost a 10 or 11 year streak in Nebraska. And I'll never forget watching that video at the end of the game after FAMU beat Nebraska in Nebraska. And announcers on the air said, I don't believe what I just saw. You know, they beat big schools, And so they were ranked in the top 20 in the AVCA poll.
Wow.
University of Florida coach was furious that the NCAA chose FAMU to host. This is who FAMU hosted at Gaither Gym.
Yep.
Jacksonville Dolphins, University of Florida, FAMU,
Stanford.
and Stanford.
Wow.
Who won it?
And I have never in my life seen an athlete like Namani Mbanga. That's her name. Or something very close. From Stanford. They won the national championship that year. But their coach, in his post-game presser when he won our regional, he said, this was a fantastic experience coming to FAMU. I learned a lot. This was a great place. FAMU has been gracious hosts. This is what I'm talking about. Dunning, their coach from Stanford, won several national championships and had several players of the years. And here he is bragging on FAMU on ABC and everywhere because our program brought it. Our school brought it.
Yeah.
Our Marching 100 brought it.
Wow.
Everybody together. So our volleyball has an incredible history. There are such groundbreaking things about college volleyball with FAMU's volleyball team. From Trifonov to now Gokhan, we gotta continue to celebrate our volleyball. I promise you. I mean, all of our sports need to be celebrated. Don't get me wrong. I love all of them. You can probably see where I've supported every single sport we had one way or another. I'm just saying that volleyball, I agree with the young. Volleyball has been underappreciated for what they've done.
Yep.
Like I say, they brought the big lights here, only HBCU to host an NCAA regional. And we did it on our campus.
Yep.
All right. Well, Vaughn, we appreciate your time this evening. I want to give you a chance to kind of make sure you get some rest so that you can get up early and be ready to cook that. Don't be late on that meal.
Chicken and waffles. She wants chicken and waffles for breakfast.
All right. Oh, you be cooking early, boy. Cooking early.
I got all the way to dinner. But hey, that's my wife. I love her. She's a Rattler. 23 years has kept me straight. I could say that.
Amen. Well, congratulations and happy birthday, Mrs.
Happy birthday, Doc.
Yeah. Since the last time I was on here, Kelvin's wife is Delta now.
Okay, right. That's right. I did see the video.
We enjoyed that. She showed out on her day too. But also just a side note, if I could throw this in,
please.
This month, on HBCU game day, I'll concentrate on something kind of groundbreaking for us. My area is Florida and South Georgia. I went and sat down. I wanted to be 4, and I may get the 4th one here before June, but it's been a little more challenge with Florida Memorial. But the goal was to sit down with all 4 presidents of the 4 HBCUs in Florida. I sat down with Dr. Larry Robinson actually his was done about a month ago. I sat down with Bethune-Cookman's president, Barry. And I also sat down with Edward Waters' president, Faison. Let me tell you, that Edward Waters got some facilities, man. Edward Waters got some facilities, man.
Faison is killing it.
Dr. Faison is on it.
Man, he got that weight room redone, man. You know how the weight rooms had a little, for rehab, they have like a 40-yard indoor turf thing? Edward Waters got that, man. They got the president's booth at the basketball arena. That's where we sat and did the interview. Yeah, so that'll be fun, enlightening about HBCUs. What I like about ONG Strike Zone as we come on here and we talk about FAMU and we talk about a lot of different things. And I also like to see what other HBCUs are doing because we got to pull from them all because, we're all interconnected. And so once again, guys, I appreciate you all for having me on. Keep Miss Dr. Jerry Jackson, Eddie's wife, and his daughter Alicia in your prayers. Monday at 11, it's going to be tough, but we got to celebrate Mr. Jackson. He didn't like sad moments at all. Mr. Jackson, he'd come up with a joke if something got too serious or whatever. So I think we got to celebrate him with that same energy.
Yeah.
And I thank God that Carmen Cummings and I and Alvin Hollins and Keith Miles, last year, we didn't know what all was going on with Mr. Jackson. So it was like the second game last year, Carmen helped us honor Mr. Jackson on the field. And let me tell you what was the amazing thing about it. It was between quarters, the first and second quarter, and Coach Simmons left the sideline to come stand by Mr. Jackson in that end zone. That meant the world to everybody. In the middle of a football game, Mr. Jackson was that important that he threw off his headset, ran down there as they celebrated Mr. Jackson. That's what you call somebody important.
Respect. That's respect.
Yeah, that's respect. Yeah, that's respect. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your time tonight, Vaughn. Thank you for your stories and sharing with us, man. And,
anytime, man. Anytime.
And again, services will be on Monday. And HBCUGameDay.com. That's all where you can always find Vaughn's work when you're looking for it. Always some good content there. So, all right, Vaughn. Anything else you want to plug or share?
No, I just say I can't thank you guys enough for holding up the orange and green the way you do. I mean, you all bring so much information, athletics to the academic side, and we have fun and we'll poke at people, but it's really serious business what you're doing, because people who are not in Tallahassee, they need someone to tell them exactly what's going on in a lot of situations. And you guys are the front line of that. So keep up the great work. And, like I said, if you need me for anything, just let me know.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Vaughn.
All right. All right. Good stuff. Vaughn Wilson, ladies and gentlemen. Did you know what June 1st was, guys? Besides the first of the month?
Yeah, the Marching 100's birthday.
It is. It was. Yes, it was. I believe the Marching 100 turned 78. I believe it was. And I wanted to make sure we share this QR code. The Marching 100's fundraiser. This is a direct link to support the Marching 100, or if you want on your phones, I believe you can text M100 to 41444. That's again, you can text M100 to 41444 to support the Marching 100. Appreciate James Colsey's fitted hat for sending this to us. Yeah, 78 years of the Marching 100. Still the baddest band in all, the most imitated band in all the land. Yeah. Any other thoughts there regarding the 100?
They got a camp coming up, and we'll try to have someone to talk about that camp, and looking forward to the fall. I've taken advantage of that QR code myself, and I'll probably do so again before the month's out. But yeah, let's is a big brand, a legendary brand, international brand, and so we definitely want to keep supporting them too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know we're getting close to the end of the show and where we should be signing off. I feel like we would be skirting the let me rephrase how I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, because I was gonna say something and I'm like, I caught myself. The recent news that came out from Tampa. How do we want to do this? First off, we know what we're talking about. Do we want to mention it very briefly before we close the show? Fellas.
The raising of the $550,000 or whatever it was.
Sure.
The tap on the shoulder.
The tap on the shoulder. The tap heard around the world.
What I will say is this.
Jimmy Mack knows.
Yeah.
Jimmy Mack can see it in his eyes. Getting your votes now. Oh, come on.
Professional. We got to be professional. You got to network. You got to have relationships, and you got to be respectful. All of us, when we communicating with each other. And it's disappointing when that doesn't happen. That should be a low bar. It should be a low bar. And you know, when we don't reach it, it's disappointing, and there needs to be consequences for it. And I kind of leave it there.
What I'll say is this, and it's kind of generic, and it can apply to many different situations, but the three of us talked about it, and we mentioned on the show. And after the spotlight shifted, you know, after the big fish left Jackson State and went to Colorado, and you know, we openly asked the question, you know, we're the next school. Are we ready for the spotlight? And there are some things that we've been doing, and I say we collectively, on that spotlight, which isn't reflecting very well. And you always have to remember the spotlight's on us and govern yourselves accordingly.
I want to say this. And I think a lot of times people look at a entity, a blog post that reports this and sees only a biased view, right? But I think we all have to rethink how news is reported. It doesn't come in the traditional form that you may have grown up in of the local newspaper, right? And even sometimes we would always complain about what we perceive to be a biased coverage or a lack of coverage from the local newspaper in Tallahassee, right? I remember that used to be a very much talked about point back when we were on campus, right? And so, you know, it's great when we see the coverage that someone like Gerald Thomas gives Florida A&M. And it's 98% positive. There's, you know, only if it needs to be talked about. But even then, it's really facts related. But sometimes you need to be able to hear everything so that you can have a full picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think it's very concerning that a major donor,
foundation board member,
is in a situation that I feel 99% sure it was not what she was going into that moment thinking would happen. I think it's also concerning that our administrator, the assistant to the administrator, would supposedly, according to reports, act in the manner and say things in the manner that they did. Because just in the same respect where I, as a teacher, whenever I'm at a school event, I am always on the job. Because I'm a teacher, I'm a coach. The same way they are always on the job. If you don't want to be on the job, don't be in a room full of everybody. In that room is a potential donor and booster of the athletic program to which you were 24 hours earlier asking them for money. Every single person is a potential sponsor. So if the moment is too intense, too troublesome, and you can't remove yourself from the situation, don't be in the room. Party in your hotel room, party at a restaurant, away from a FAMU event. And that's what is troublesome and disappointing to me. And so that it is reported, and I think anytime that, I don't care who it is, if it's us or anybody, any one entity, when any entity takes the point of talking to, as it was reported, 27 people, that's not an even clean number. That's not 20, it's not 10, it's 27. And then tells you that there's video too. And that to each 27 people, this is their account of what happens. I think that's a pretty reliable story. So we can take issue with the messenger, and we could say that the messenger is not a fan or supporter. Maybe that's not their job. Shouldn't be their job. But I think we all have to really check ourselves about complaining about who's sharing the information. Because when the information is that solid, I think you have to sort of take it for what it is. And the only thing that will make this whole worse is, and I say when, not if, when the video, which according to the Post says there were 3 versions of the video, and when it comes out, then you'll say what? Oh yeah, they were right. So at what point is enough? I don't know. I don't know. I just, I don't think the footage will stay hidden, Jay Hunter. I don't think. And at some point, I would hope that I don't know if you come out with a public apology. I don't know how you even put that out there, you know, because again, there's 2 parties to this. I don't think the booster, the foundation board member, I don't think she doesn't want that attention. That's not what I know for a fact that she has made several contributions to an athletic program and done it anonymously. So she's not looking for her name to be in the headlines. She doesn't want the attention on TV shows and things of that nature. No. So I just want so much more. That's all. That's all I got. I'm going to leave it at that. I think we've all said what we needed to say without really saying it and putting names out there. If you want names and faces and pictures, you can go check out other shows, and you know, they've got plenty of intel to share with you. We'll leave it at that. Okay. Anything else that we need to mention that we didn't get a chance to mention in this show?
No. We'll save some for next week. We didn't
Save
get
some.
it.
We'll have some recruiting updates next week. I know we got a lot of new names, man. The roster. I can't wait to kind of look at the depth chart on this thing. My God. I will say this. I saw a recent. Can I also add this one quickly? I'll be real quick. I noticed that a good friend Kyle Mosley of SI Legends, HBCUlegends.com. I posted I know what you're saying. He posted a prediction of the FAMU season, and I love Kyle to death, but man, there's no way in this hell or the next is that happening. I told for anyone who, that's all I'm going to say. And I will come with statistical numbers and analytics to show you that if you just looked at, okay, I'll say this. We play a 12-game schedule. I will just say 9 of the 12 games, we have a 75% chance to win, according to the predictive models, analytics. 75% is pretty good, guys. 75%. 9 games. And one other game was a 55% chance to win. And I will tell you, I know for a fact that last season, remember how we talked about last season and how glowingly? Last season, that same entity predicted that we would only win 8 games last year. I'm just letting y'all know. Don't sleep. Don't sleep on FAMU in 2024. FAMU football, that is.
Well, I'm working on my document for the preseason. So, of course, I'm going to have some stats behind it. And all I say is this: two quick things in regards to predictions. The way I look at predictions is that you're trying to project with some kind of data behind it, right? Predicting FAMU to lose at home probably ain't a good prediction. And to lose the first game at home. Also, quarterback play matters. And there's not a whole bunch of schools that are going to have elite quarterback play, consistent quarterback play. The Dark Cloud defense ain't going nowhere. And I'm going to leave that right there.
Marcus, final thoughts as we close tonight?
Yeah, just like Kelvin, I'm working on some more preseason stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you look at it, just across in our own conference, I'm trying to think of returning quarterbacks, and there are a lot of folks that graduated, a lot of folks that transferred. So, if you're looking at that as an indicator of who will or won't be in contention, people are either starting over in a new place within the conference, or they're starting over at the quarterback position, including us. So if you're just using that as your indicator, then it's wide open. But defense travels, and we showed last year. Even we've lost some key components, but just trying to bring back a semblance of what we had last year, and then last year will be a hard act to top. But if it's anywhere close, then we should be well in contention. Yeah, and to Ashley's point, a lot of first-time coaches, once again, including us. I mean, in terms of returning coaches, I think only Alabama A&M and Alabama State are the only two that have coaches who are head coaches. And
Jackson.
And Jackson. Well, we have more than 2 years of experience in the head coaching position. We have a lot of second-year coaches and first-year coaches, and I think Alabama A&M and Alabama State are the only two that.
We're brand new coordinators, by the way.
Yes, so there's a lot of variables in the air. A lot of variables in the air.
Yeah.
I will Mike, again, actually only 2 games we are predicted to lose. That's the 2 FBS games. So I'll share the game that's the 55% later. And it was not Prairie View. I'll say that. All right. Well.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Getting a tornado warning.
Uh-oh. Okay. I was wondering.
All right, well, I'm going to have to sign out. I don't know if I'll be going to sleep.
All right, well, we're going to sign off. You hear that music in the background? That's the Marching 100 telling us we got to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. Thank you for watching the O&G Strike Zone tonight. We got to thank Brooke Hudson for joining us. We got to thank Vaughn Wilson for joining us. And we thank all of you for watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on X. Go check out the BCSN Pod Zone everywhere you listen to podcasts. Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google, Apple Podcasts, BCSN Pod Zone. That's where you can find our show and all of the shows that are part of the Black College Sports Network. Share this show with the family, please. Somebody who hasn't heard. All right. That's going to do it. Marcus, be safe up there. For Marcus, for Kelvin, I'm Bryan. Thank you, Rattlers. Support where you can support. We appreciate you supporting our show in any and every way that you can. Peace up and strike again, Rattlers. Be well. Good night now.